Do you ever time block your entire week on a Sunday? Color-coded, optimized, airtight. And then Friday rolls around and you're wondering, what happened to my week? It's not just you. 95% of even high-performing, hyper-organized people fall into the time blocking trap. Science has a name for it, has an explanation, and a fix. I'm Dr. Jamie, licensed clinical psychologist and behavioral scientist obsessed with helping high performers optimize their time without burning out. And in this video, I'm going to show you what the top 5% know about the benefits of time blocking, the evidence we have about why people are really bad at it, and 5 science-based strategies to get you with the top time blocking geniuses. Let's start with why I love time blocking, assuming my hair is going to cooperate. I'm a huge fan of time blocking. I use it every day to run my entire life. Time blocking is one of the most powerful tools that we have to pre-commit to our decisions. And that matters because every decision that we don't have to make during our day is mental energy saved. Research shows that making tons of tiny and unimportant decisions throughout the day, what psychologists call micro decisions, adds to your cognitive load, which increases fatigue and lowers follow-through throughout the day. That's why so many high performers try to minimize some of these unimportant decisions, like what to wear, when to work out, or when to write emails. When you open up your calendar, you already know what you're going to be doing and when, which saves yourself from burning out in decision making before any work is even done. And here's where the behavioral science gets really exciting. Studies show that writing down when and where you'll complete a task, even just once, doubles the likelihood that you'll follow through on that task. That's the power of implementation intentions. Writing that you're going to do X at Y location at Z time. For me, time blocking also gives me this kind of calm structure. It helps me feel in control of my day, and it also lets me collect small wins as I move from one task to another throughout the day. I'm also getting little dopamine hits as I finish things up and start new tasks, which increases my own feeling of fulfillment, accomplishment, and even self-efficacy. Building that momentum helps me feel like I can keep going. There's one final reason why I love time blocking. In this highly cited study, found that switching between tasks can actually decrease your productivity by up to 40%. Time blocking helps me to keep a focused effort on just one specific task rather than moving from task to task and losing little bits of productivity along the way. Given all of those benefits, it makes total sense why we have tons of videos on the benefits of time blocking. But as a behavioral scientist, I'm shocked that we don't have more videos on all the ways that people get it wrong. Ultimately, most people can't follow through on their time blocking and tend to just give up. Kind of like how I'm giving up on my bangs here. And my lighting, apparently. I can't give you any hair tutorials, but I can tell you all the ways that our mind tricks us into being unable to follow through on our time blocking. Don't worry, I will give you a tutorial on how to overcome each of these problems. Let's start with the planning fallacy, which is a well-documented bias where people constantly underestimate how long things will take to complete, even things that they've done 100 times before. In one of the most cited studies, college students were asked to estimate how long it will take them to finish a major writing assignment. On average, they predicted that it was going to take them about 34 days. Can you guess how long it actually took them? It was closer to 56. That's 60% longer than expected. And if you're thinking, okay, these are college students, what do they know about writing or life? First off, be kind. There's 25-year-olds lurking around here. I see you. Second, this isn't an age-related problem. It doesn't go away as we age. Even famous writers with entire careers behind them blow past self-imposed deadlines over and over again. Because it isn't about skill, it's about how our brain works. The bias shows up everywhere, from formatting a document, getting ready to go out. You're just really good at underestimating how long everything is going to take. And scientists think that this is because the planning fallacy is like a biased inception, a bad estimate with a bad assumption wrapped up in an overconfident to-do list. And one of the biggest culprits here is the better than average effect, also known as the illusory superiority effect, because psychologists like fancy words. But it just means that most of us think that we're better than most people, which is weird because statistically, that can't be true. Average by definition means that half of the people are worse than the average at any given thing. And if that was slightly confusing, or if you're a real math nerd like me, check out this video where I walk through an entire explanation of what it means to be average. Part of the reason I made that video is because it's really difficult to convince the 93% of US drivers who say that they're better than average, college students who rate themselves above average in intelligence, leadership, and ethics, or employees who consistently rate their productivity and collaboration higher than their peers do. This bias also shows up in our time blocking, when we block out time based on our ideal self, the one who's focused, caffeinated, powered by awesome lighting, and no interruptions. How often is that you? Really, tell me, I'm interested. This is where so many of us go wrong, but not you. We're gonna take that bias and use it to our advantage. Next Sunday, when you sit down to start your time blocking, don't ask yourself how long it's going to take you to complete your task. Ask yourself, how long will it take Judy, 2 cubicles over, to complete that task? How long would it take your husband to do that household chore? Now, I know you're better than Judy, and I know that I'm better at least 51% of the things in my household. But I'm not time blocking for myself. I'm time blocking based on Judy and my husband's schedule. Meaning, when I time block, I'm gonna ask myself, how long would it take someone else, someone not as great or awesome as I, to complete that task? And then I'm gonna put that amount of time blocking into my calendar for that task. By using someone else as your reference, you're doing what behavioral economists call reference class forecasting. This forces you to get out of your own head and consider how long it takes a typical person to do something like this. If you're still thinking, but I'm not like most people, you might be falling into the next bias, the self-serving bias. Who names these things? The self-serving bias is our tendency to take personal credit for our successes and blame external factors for our failures or shortcomings. You've probably heard this in everyday language, things like, I got an A, or my professor gave me a C. I made the company $1 million. The company lost $3 million. That bias also shows up in time blocking. When your week goes smoothly, it's because you're focused, smart, and efficient. When it doesn't, it's because Judy doesn't answer her emails fast enough and my husband can't get his shit together. Why am I picking on him today? Just like before, we could use this bias to our favor. Instead of time blocking for a week where everything goes right, ask yourself, how would you spend your time next week if everything went sideways? I call it worst case time estimating. Ask yourself, if I was still me and I was still awesome, but everything around me went terribly wrong, what would I be able to get done next week? Then time block based on that scenario. This is why I estimate my commute, assuming a crash on the 495 every day. People in the National Capital Region, if you know, you know. Okay, I'm not just being dramatic here. Remember that study where students were asked to estimate how long it would take them to finish writing that paper? Well, another version of the same study asked students to predict the time it would take them to complete the task if everything went wrong. Even when they were told to imagine everything going poorly, they still underestimated the amount of time it would take them to complete a task by a full week. And only half of them finished the task by even their worst case scenario estimate. For you and me, if we use this, we'll probably be the half that got it right. One of the strategies that I teach many of my clients that are trying to optimize their time blocking is based on a 2008 study published in the peer-reviewed journal Memory and Cognition. This study found that people generally estimated longer task times when they took the time to look at the task and break it down into its subcomponents. They didn't just arbitrarily add additional time to their time estimates, they were actually getting closer to their real times when they looked at all of the things that go into a specific task. There was a time when I thought it took me 6 hours to do a YouTube video, but when I broke it down into its component parts, it takes me about 3 hours to do the scripting, 2 hours for the filming, 4 hours for the editing, another 30 minutes for the thumbnail, 30 minutes for a video description, That's really closer to 10 hours. So before you block off a period of time for a specific task, science suggests that you break that task down into its subcomponents before you estimate how big of a block you want to insert into your Wednesday. These techniques are getting more and more advanced. If you're anything like me and you want some sort of formula or equation that you can follow irrespective of how you think you're going to do, give me some numbers, show me some data. The next two strategies do just that. But before we get there, if you're interested in any of the studies that I talk about during this video, I will link them in the description box down below. And while you're down there, consider subscribing to this channel. I'm trying to hit 100,000 subscribers in spite of my total inability to control this cowlick. I'm so close. Let's face it, if you've made it this far into the video, you're my kind of people, so you might want to stick around here. Because we review things like this 2004 study at the University of Illinois, where the scientists already knew that people are bad at estimating how long things will take to complete. But they wanted to know by how much. They asked a group of participants to estimate how long it takes them to do everyday tasks. Things like everyday household or self-care tasks. You might have guessed it, they were off by more than 56%. When tasks were more complex, they were even less accurate. Now, in fairness, this is only one peer-reviewed study, but I'm all about personal experimentation, and I've been playing with this equation when I'm trying to calculate how long things will take. When it's a simple task or things that I've done many times before, I add 50% more time than I think it's going to take to my time blocking. If I think checking email is going to take me 60 minutes, I block out 90 minutes. If I think it'll take me 2 hours to clean my house, I block out 3 hours to clean the house. If it's something more complex, I straight double the time. If I think it's going to take me 2 hours to do some statistical analysis or to write a YouTube script like this one, I'm going to block out 4 hours of time. Double the amount of time I think it's going to take me. This small adjustment has dramatically increased the accuracy of my time blocking and has decreased the frustration I had with unfinished tasks. It's helped me build a more realistic and sustainable schedule. Now, if you want to live life on hard mode and don't want to depend on inferential statistics, that's assuming that your life is going to somehow match up with the studies, here's an advanced strategy to take your time blocking to the next level. Instead of using the generalized shortcuts that we've talked about in this video, you can start collecting data on yourself and track how long it actually takes you to complete your daily tasks. Not just thinking about how long it's going to take, not how long you think it should take, how long it actually takes. Because the best predictor of future behavior is past behavior. If you're constantly tracking how long it takes you to respond to an email, get your kid out the door, or put up a YouTube video, you're sitting on a gold mine of personal information. And you can use that data to get scary accurate with your time blocking. And yes, this is something that I've actually done for periods of time in my life. For the past 6 months, I've been tracking nearly every part of my life, how long I sleep, what I eat, the frequency and intensity of the arguments I have with my husband, and I made an entire video on that. You can check that out right here, or check out this video on the benefits of tracking your time.